Let's begin the video with a quick kill montage.
Your mag dropped.
What's up, gel ballers, and welcome back to my channel. It's been quite a while since I reviewed a gel blaster. YouTube doesn't like them, and they're also a bit of a niche on the tubes because the rest of the world has airsoft. Recently, iHobby up in Queensland sent me this fun little guy. Select fire, 30 rounds per second, MAC-11.
iHobby sell the Wellfire MAC-11 for 350 kangaroos, putting it in the same kind of price range as most gas-powered gel blaster pistols. I think that's quite reasonable for what this is, and I'll put a link to it down below. The blaster is made predominantly of metal and has an impressive amount of weight to it for its small size, coming in at 1.4 kilograms with the mag inserted. The only major part of this that isn't metal is the rear of the grip, which is nylon instead. Up front, it has a 14mm counterclockwise threaded muzzle where you could attach something either functional like one of iHobby's thread-on hop-ups, and those also have a nice flash hider that goes over the top, or alternatively you could add something decorative like a mock suppressor for that stealthy operator look. Up top there's a fixed front and rear iron sight as well as a functioning charging handle. When you first insert a mag you actually need to cock that back, and when you empty your mag or are running low on gas it'll lock itself halfway forwards, and then when you remove the mag it'll lock all the way forward. On the left hand side there's the selector switch. Forward is semi-auto, and rotating it 180 degrees to the rear position is full auto 30 rounds per second. On the underside of the blaster, just in front of the trigger, there's a sliding safety switch. That's handy if you're using this as a sidearm and don't want it going off as you run around on the field, or just as a precaution in between games.
Okay, now how's the trigger pull on this thing? So there's a tiny bit of travel and then I hit a nice solid wall. If I pull it any further from there, the decent amount of pressure too, then it fires. So definitely not a hair trigger, and I'm not sure what the real thing is like, but just be aware the trigger is a bit heavy to pull.
On the underside at the rear, there's a button to extend the stock. You'll probably find the stock clips against the rear iron sight sometimes, so just make sure you lift that up a bit when you pull it back. With the stock extended, pinch the U-shaped shoulder piece together and it'll fold down for you.
When you're actually shouldering this thing, it's pretty difficult to get your eye low enough to actually use the sights. So I think most of the time if you have the stock out, you'll just be point shooting it, kind of hip firing I guess you'd call it. Or how I would use it is with the stock collapsed and just go around with it like a pistol. You can still use the irons with the stock collapsed.
Now it's time to show you a big complaint I have with this blaster.
So if you hit the mag release, the mag will get stuck on the valve at the back of the mag, and you have to hit that mag release again to get it the rest of the way out. So I was getting stuck on that right there. So if you are taking the mags out of this blaster, what you have to do is probably with one hand hold that down and then pull it all the way out. Pretty annoying.
When I showed the blaster to some other players, that's the first thing they noticed too. So I would say this is a pretty annoying flaw in the design. With that mag eventually removed, loading it with gels is very easy. Just pull down the follower, and I'd recommend having a speed loader for this next part. Simply feed gels into the wider gap at the bottom, and when it's full of gels, release the mag follower, and you should be good to go with around 45 shots loaded. To load the gas this blaster uses to fire, using the included Allen key, undo the screw cap at the bottom of the mag. Insert a fresh CO2 bulb tip first, then just tighten that cap back up again with the Allen key, which will also automatically pierce the bulb internally. I didn't have any leaks or any issues with the cap or the valves on the mag, so overall they seem to be pretty reliable. What I will mention though is that unless you take the time to perfectly double stack the mag, it just won't keep up with that 30 rounds per second check it on full auto and you'll end up getting a jam. For the gameplay footage, I couldn't be bothered sitting there and making sure the gels alternated perfectly when I loaded them, so I chose to just use it on semi and it worked just as well as any other gas pistol I've used in the past, but with double the ammo capacity, which is a huge plus. Later on in the video, when I test the full auto rate of fire and the full auto accuracy, just keep in mind that I had to sit there and get the gels loaded spot on for it to actually work. With that, I've pretty much wrapped up my overview of the MAC-11, so now let's get on with some testing. The gel balls I'm using today should come as no surprise. I'm using iHobby's own orange pack hardened gels. Although most of you are probably already using these, I'll put a link to them down below.
Also, incredibly important to mention with a gas-powered blaster like this one, we're now coming into the colder months here in Australia. It's a 16-degree day today, so this being temperature dependent is going to be a bit lower in velocity than if you were shooting it in summer. Keep that in mind as I begin the chrono test. 218, 233, 252, 232, 243, 237, 232, 241, 212, 234, 240, 249, 245, 237, 175, 220, 214, 196. I think the mag's getting a little cold now.
Over the chrono, on a 16-degree day, it averaged 224 feet per second. A fair bit lower than our 300 FPS velocity limit we use at the field here. What you do have to keep in mind though is that in summer when the temps get up above 30 degrees, this could very well end up shooting hotter than the 300 FPS and then I wouldn't be able to use it at all. That's just one of the downsides of gas-powered blasters. But now that we know how hard it's shooting, let's see how many shots it fires per second on full auto, of course using a mag that I loaded perfectly.
Now, just to get the rate of fire on full auto, I've swapped to this airsoft style chronograph. It's nowhere near as accurate in the numbers, but it does tell me the rate of fire, which the other chrono doesn't. Jeez, 1800 rounds per minute. That's 30 rounds a second out of a stock gel blaster. And of course, we completely locked back and emptied the mag.
With full auto rate of fire covered, there's only one more test to do, and that's the accuracy test.
Okay, for today's accuracy test, going to be sitting from 20 meters away instead of the usual 30. I did try it at 30, just doesn't have the effective range. I think this is more of a sidearm or pistol primary. So we'll see how it does at 20 meters. Maybe a bit higher. All right, it's locked back. We're out of shots. Now, I think there's only one more thing to try, right? Let's see how this does on full auto. I think I had my point of aim off a little to the right, but that is insanely fun. Doesn't get old. Fired every single shot.
At a distance of 20 meters, the MAC-11 shot a 60 centimeter spread. Not bad at all for a compact gas blowback sidearm that you'll pretty much only be using up close anyway. But after testing velocity, rate of fire, accuracy, and using it for a day of gameplay, what do I think of this MAC-11 gel blaster overall? Well, I think this is definitely more of a fun blaster to use than one I'd pick for competitive play. If you take the time to load the mag properly, the full auto is incredibly fun to mag dump at at 30 rounds per second with gas blowback. It even feels like it has a tiny bit of recoil as well. The size and weight of this thing being full metal also makes it feel very realistic. Its small size and the fact it has double the ammo capacity over most other gas-powered pistol-sized blasters does give it a bit of an edge at ultra-close ranges. I would definitely pick this over a 20-shot gas pistol for a CQB match any day. However, the fact that you need to load the mag perfectly for it to feed properly on full auto is a big downside. I think most players will find that very annoying unless they can live with it on semi like I did. Something else that I think you'll find pretty annoying is having to hit that mag release twice just to remove the mag. It'll definitely at least slow you down in the heat of the battle. Because I only had the one mag to use for the day, it didn't annoy me that much because I was just reloading when I died. The lower velocity in colder temperatures and higher velocity in warmer ones is a shared trait that all gas-powered gel blasters have. Because of that, I wouldn't recommend this or any other gas blaster for that matter as a first-time gel blaster, because in summer you might not even be allowed to use it. And right now in winter it's going to be shooting lower than everyone else's primaries. The lower winter velocity combined with only really using it in semi-auto results in people sometimes not calling their hits. All in all, I do think it's a very faithful replica that's fun to use. If you love the MAC-11, this is a great one to add to your collection. Just keep in mind those downsides I've been listing about the mag release and the feeding on 30 rounds per second full auto. If those aren't turn-offs for you and you do want to still get one for yourself, find it at the links down below. That's all I have for you today. Like, comment, subscribe, and all of that. Here's 2 other videos you might enjoy. And as always, thank you very much for watching. See ya!